You're listening to the Renegade Blitz, the best podcast for Steelers fans by Steelers fans. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at RBlitzPod, and at Blitz Videos. Read articles on RenegadeBlitz.com, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app.
And welcome back to the Renegade Blitz. Steelers defeated the Falcons 19-16. Many would classify this game as mid, as Brandon Walker would say, but I'm just happy to have football, honestly. I mean,
too many field goals for we talked on the before we went on. Matt Wright hit 4 field goals. So many long drives. Really, the Falcons had a couple long drives that didn't field goal. I was just one touchdown. Connor Hayward. We'll get to that great story there, but I just like to see a little bit more consistency there, and the penalties or it's been the same thing with the offense all year, just kind of like inconsistent.
Yeah, very inconsistent. No interceptions for Pickett. He's starting to get better, starting to improve. I still don't like. He still needs to read defenses a little bit better. He's still struggling in the red zone, except for that one drive, which was inspirational, and I felt great for the kid, Connor Hayward. Defense played hit and miss at times with struggling in the second half. If the Steelers are going to be a good team in the future, they're going to have to start completing games all the way. So consistency for 60 minutes, because you barely beat a bad team. You barely beat a bad team last week. You saw what the Cowboys did to the Colts on Sunday night, which was completely obliterate them. So that's going to be addressed. But
Brandon,
overall, a win's a win. But
Brandon, I want to say this. Even at the highest heights of Steelers football, this team really couldn't play a full 60 minutes or whatever type of 48 minutes, whatever you want to say. Sorry with the hockey analogies, but yeah, this team couldn't really play a full 60-minute game at its height at any point. I think that you just have to look at it like this. Did it look good in most situations? Not really, but it got.
Falcons were the more physical team.
Yeah,
they were.
The problem is they don't have a weapon, so to speak, that could make the Steelers pay, which is always the big thing against them. If that team has weapons, if you even put it back into the DeLorean 5 years ago, that Falcons team crushes the Steelers.
Yeah,
but luckily
just can't throw the ball, really. Mariota, they're a good run team. I think they're in their top 5 in the league. Cordero Patterson, he's a good player. Receivers like Drake London's a rookie. He's not too bad, but Falcons, their passing game, it doesn't really scare you. And I don't know. They almost scored there on that final drive there. Millette, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? You think that was a bad no call there? Also, Deontay Johnson, do you think that was a fumble?
I have to look at it. Remind me. Remember, honestly, this game was so mid that I had to. I slept through the middle of the third till almost the end of the game, till the Steelers were almost like they were kneeling down. So what was the cause that you were referring to?
Deontay Johnson caught the ball, or they said he didn't, but said for this, but it was a rule to catch, or no, rule not to catch, but it looked like to me it was a catch fumble. Atlanta would have got the ball deep in the Steelers' territory, and instead they had to go down the whole field as a long drive, and they ended up just kicking a field goal. Steelers got the ball back, and that's when they ran the clock out. But on that drive, the long one, that's where Millette kind of like Falcons fans thought that was a DPI.
Well,
what do you think, Ty? Did you watch the game, right?
I can't remember that play. Here's the one thing: the lights were on, but nobody was home at times, and that was one of the times with it. I remember the big plays with that.
Yeah,
Penn State Pat and all that, but
okay, yeah.
I have to go look back at that myself, and I'd say that if it's close, then the Falcons fans are warring it. But yeah,
I mean,
it was tough.
If I wasn't like unbiased aside, like definitely, I thought that was a catch fumble. Maybe not with the Millette one. Maybe whenever a defensive back gets them like on the side there, where kind of like hooks them. That's kind of what they thought Millette did there. But the Steelers they still got like 3 first downs to win the game anyway. So like Atlanta had chances to win the game. For some reason, they had their cornerback way off on Deontay Johnson, and kind of Kenny Pickett hit a slant, and that pretty much ran a ton of time down, and they kicked a field goal, and then Presley Harvin III had a great punt that was downed at the 2-yard line. Next play, Minka called game.
Yeah. You have to give a big shout out to the defense in situations. They made their bones. We talk about Connor Hayward getting the touchdown the drive before that. Cam Hayward got the drive-ending sack. So the big time players, as you expected, with outside of TJ Watt, which a little bit weird right now.
He's hurt. He's hurt. He has a rib now.
Yeah,
he has a rib now. His chest is still probably not 100%, and you got a knee.
Yeah, he's beat up right now.
Yes. And what do you guys think for that lies in the future for Watt and the Steelers? Like, he's been starting to break down. This could be the beginning because his brother wore down around
late 20s.
He wore around the same time he's doing now.
Yeah, I mean, well, hopefully this year is just one year type of thing. But I mean, when you got 3 different injuries on your body and stuff, that's tough. And he still makes an impact. He's just not getting those like splash plays and everything.
Yeah, he's more TJ Watt decoy, which, as a former Defensive Player of the Year and perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate, that's something that every team has to account for no matter what. Teams still account for J.J. Watt through all the injury history because they know what happens if you allow him an opportunity to wreck the game. You won't win. So that's what the Steelers have going for them right now. And if I had it in my heart of hearts, I probably would have sat him. But the question is with the Steelers, of course, is being caught in between that I don't think this team is good enough to even win one playoff game right now. But at the same time, so much high-end talent. We use that word constantly with this franchise that they're almost too good to lose. They're too good to lose, but they're not good enough to win at a clip that would make, for one, everyone around here and around the world happy.
So let's get to that because Tollan, he needs to win 4 out of the 5 remaining games to continue his 15 non-losing season streak. What do you guys think? Do you think he's going to get that, or Steelers like they can't be 8-8 this year, so like that's kind of where it's like kind of lining up. Like they lose to the good teams and they they beat up on the bad teams. So like, do you think it's going to be another case of draft middle and kind of like stay middle kind of thing? Brand's shaking his head.
Why? The only thing, because the Baltimore game coming up next, still is a favorite. The only thing is, the Steelers have won 4 straight against Baltimore. They don't have long winning streaks in these rivalry games in Steelers-Ravens. That usually don't happen.
And Hundley, he's going to have a full week this weekend.
Right.
He didn't really do. Wasn't great in the regular season finale last year, but he did run for a large number of yards. But
right. And then after that, you got Carolina, which they played better.
The Raiders are actually looking better. They won 3 in a row.
Yeah, but if they lose that game,
this Derek Carr cried after losing the Colts.
I know, but if they lose that game, you already know. Like it might be time if they lose that. Time heads are going to have to roll. I don't care.
You can't lose that. You can't lose. You can't
no
lose
way.
the staple game, honoring. For as much as people do not like Franco Harris for a lot of reasons around this town, if you're a Penguins fan, you can't stand him for the arena, basically what eventually turned out working out with the PPG Paints Arena. Originally, it was supposed to be all off casino money. That fell through. Yeah. And there's always been a thing with him in which he does things for a buck, which is weird. Which is weird in a town like Pittsburgh that he could have whatever he wanted. All he has to do is ask.
Oh, yeah, he could.
Well, this is the one thing is that, like, I'm a immaculate reception. I love all that stuff and everything, but I feel like it is a little too much. I feel like they're doing it like at the same time that he caught the ball, like they're replaying like the radio call or something like that. I get it all. It's the 50th anniversary and everything, but I don't know. It's a little too much for me, to be honest. And I love the immaculate reception.
Here goes the thing. I'm
a bear witness to it, so I'm gonna be happy. I'm just gonna eat it up and soak it up.
Yeah. I mean, it's great and all, but kind of like what Ty mentioned, like Franco Harris is kind of like the whole buck type of thing you mentioned. It's kind of
this is nothing against Franco Harris. I still like him for what he did with this town in terms of football and everything. This is in general people saying it right now. I don't like what it is as a Penguins fan.
Yeah,
but
he wore the hat.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave it at that. He wore that hat that one time that people don't like. About
he's a staunch.
I don't really care about that. There's a lot.
He's a staunch Joe Paterno supporter. So he played for him and everything. That's obviously his right to have his opinion on that. But a lot of people disagree with that. So
right, it's a lot of things with Franco Harris and stuff like that. You see now, but it still seems like, all right, let's go back. Cleveland at the end of the year.
Well, they played Baltimore before.
Baltimore, I think they'll probably lose that game.
But Lamar will be back by then.
He'll be back, and I think I'm going to say 8-9, 7-10.
So, it might be 7-11.
I can't go there. I can't go 9-8. I'm sorry.
I said 7-11. That was my preseason prediction. So
6.
I had him at what? I had him at 8-9, 7-10.
I had him at 6-11. I'm actually the downer of the group, believe it or not. So, Chris, I think you had him at 7-10. I had them at the lowest.
Oh yeah.
Basically, they're one off of proving me to look like an idiot. But yeah,
I messed up the 7-10. Yeah, because they're 17 games.
I view it like this. You get the feeling, again, as Brandon said, the law of averages with this entire rivalry between the Steelers and the Ravens, it can't go to 6-game winning streak. It could go to 5, but it's not going to 6.
I don't even think you could go 6, 5.
Yeah, I said, well, you're basically saying the Ravens effectively either A, pull a sweep, or the Steelers split one. They just lose this one with Tyler Huntley at quarterback. And while the Steelers, here's the one caveat. The Steelers are 6th in run defense. Now, granted, they've always had an issue with running quarterbacks, but I think most teams in the league have issues with running quarterbacks. That's just the way it goes in this league. You can't have a running back and a quarterback that you have to account for. It's just too much. But I view it as, if they get Huntley throwing, I like the defense's chances.
Some may argue that he may be a better thrower than Lamar Jackson.
That's out of line.
I can never say that for a guy that won an MVP in this league.
I didn't say he did. I said Sunday argued that point.
Did you see that 62-yarder he threw to Deshaun Jackson against Jacksonville, the game that they blew?
I know.
I saw it. I know. But that's
speaking of the receivers, Deshaun Jackson, I thought he retired.
Nah, he's still hanging around the league. He's still fast.
Yeah,
he is still fast at 35. And great for him. I mean, most burners would be, as you say, Brandon, he probably should have been done like 2-3 years ago.
No, because he's like one of those guys that stay. There's certain people, like rare people, like Tyreek Hill is probably going to be one of those guys who's going to still be fast 5 years from now.
Yeah, you get some rare
like,
guys like that.
He might lose a step or two, but he's 5 steps ahead of everybody else. You know what I mean? So that's not. And I didn't even know he was. I was like, where's this? Deshaun Jackson. I didn't even know who he played last year.
He bounced around from Los Angeles, and he went to
Las Vegas.
Yeah. So he's still collecting a check in the league. Also related to I didn't know this until he said something. He's also related to Steel Valley quarterback Cruz Brookins, who we'll talk more about college a little bit later, is now decommitted from Kent State. But I want to talk about. Let's stick with wide receivers for a second, though. Deontay Johnson. Everyone has been, and their mother has been saying that $18 million is not worth it, and with a team that's in a rebuild like this, I tend to agree with them. He rebounded from that, but man, he's doing too much. He's not looking like that one is a classic drop that I'm thinking of where he's getting ahead of himself.
Right. I saw it. I just now saw that one. And he kept fumbling the ball.
Had a false start too.
False start. Yeah. You already know what he needs to do. We don't need to stress that anymore on this podcast. But I think he just is what he is.
Well, good route runner.
Inconsistent hands, has some skill. He just ain't. He's not gonna be what everybody gonna want him to be, ever. And they need to start giving your boy the ball, Pickens.
Yeah, that's another thing to get. What he had 1 catch for 2 yards on 2 targets. You got to get Pickens involved in everything, and Pickett. People watching it live were saying, Pickens was open, and then people were saying, the All-22 showed that Pickens wasn't open. But I haven't got a chance to look at it at all. But what do you guys think of that? Like, kind of that outburst where he's saying, throw him the effing ball and everything. A lot of people kind of made a big deal out of it, but I thought like it wasn't because like he didn't get in Kenny Pickett's face. If that was the case, I think it would be different. But he was kind of saying what any like star receiver says.
Yeah. Get him the effing ball. Throw it up to him and see what happens. That kid is going to be a star.
Yeah. And he has 6 contested catches this year. I feel like, you just throw it up to him. He's going to put his body in position to make that catch.
His hands need to get a little bit better.
Yeah.
As Ty is left us for a minute, but I'm like, this kid could be special, but this goes back to the offense. The offensive coordinator. Is it because of scheme? Can he not scheme him the ball?
It's a little bit of both. I think it's, like scheming, the routes they're running, some of it's on Pickett too, because Pickett missed Freiermuth down the seam on that one play. Did you see that in the first half?
Yes.
Yeah, he should have had that one. So it's kind of like it's just so many different little things. I mean, the one positive is that the offensive line's really starting to get going now. Like they're moving people off the ball, and Najee's hitting the holes. That's what I really noticed out of the last 4 games is that the run game has really picked it up. It's a credit to Pat Meyer, the offensive line coach, and you got to give Matt Canada. He's scheming up the right run plays right now. But
he got Jalen Warren out there. You got Najee out there. Biddy Snell and McFarland. You got everybody's running the ball. Everybody's eating. Mason Cole ain't that bad. Jalen Daniels, is it turning into a solid linebacker? Nobody's talking about Chucks.
Oops.
He's the best out of the bunch, but
Dan Morris with too many penalties. But
that needs to be addressed immediately. Immediately after the season in the draft, or paid real money for a left tackle.
I see that you guys went off to the offensive lineman while my internet decided to block me from doing anything. But yeah,
we're talking about the run game coming to life, really, and how the offensive line's gelling, and Najee Harris. You could put those like we never mentioned, but we did talk about it. But those kind of like those silly Trent Richardson comparisons when Najee was struggling early in the year. People were getting on him, and he did miss a couple holes and everything. But I thought the whole time that one, he was hurt, and second, the offensive line was just terrible at run blocking early in the year, and they've turned things around
because of continuity. When an offensive line hasn't been hurt, like it has been over the last 2 years, and they get an opportunity to understand, all right, this guy handles this guy handles that in this situation. Especially run blocking is the one thing that you first see a turnaround in an offensive line. It's one of the things that typically go through. It's either run blocking or pass blocking first. For last year, there was glimpses of the pass blocking being well, but I think there was just a bigger focus because they had Ben Roethlisberger back there. Now, with a quarterback that's more mobile, the run game is being emphasized. So
right.
That's just how it is.
And it always takes about an offensive line to consistently play to congeal till probably around Thanksgiving. And that's when they started to start congealing.
Like you're seeing the movement, like on the line of scrimmage, like they're moving guys, and like Najee's hitting the hole, like that Liz Frank, that injury that was bothering him. He had like a metal plate, I think, in his cleat. Like he was really slow early in the year. Now you're seeing that burst and everything. So, I'm glad. Some Steeler fans. I think we've been pretty patient for him. I know I did have some questions, but I did know that he was hurt. So, it's good to see that he's turning things around. But it really was never really his fault. He made a couple bad reads, but I mean everybody has bad plays.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about the Steelers at home, and now Brandon really wanted to talk about this, being that the Steelers have just gotten out of Atlanta, and that's the home of one former Jackson State head coach and now current Colorado University head coach, Deion Sanders. Now, there has been a lot of talk about this, and predominantly because, well, both me and Brandon are black, it's a big deal in our circles in terms of the HBCU stuff. And Chris, I know that early on in the podcast, we thought about going down to the HBCU bowls just to see how it is, especially with it's really a big thing for all of us because the Steelers are so heavily connected to it. Brandon works for the biggest black newspaper, arguably, in America. So
Bill Nunn, Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
We had
it
Andy
affects all of
Cotton,
us in a way.
And this is another thing why I feel about this. It's not – I think this is great because my great uncle, James Frank, was the commissioner for the SWAC for a long time. Fun fact.
Well, I didn't know that. So he was the commissioner for the conference?
Yes. And former NCAA president. Very intelligent man. Passed away about 3 years ago. But yes, it's a very historic figure, so it's near and dear to my heart. But I think, but first, I want to talk about that part first. I want to talk about how y'all feel about how he addressed the players that he now has on the team first. Then we'll go there.
It's a bold strategy to say to the quarterback that's in the room, yes, Colorado went 1-11 this year in competition. It's a bold strategy to have the quarterback of the team that you're coming from, and yes, it is your son, and outright say that is your starting quarterback right then and there. And obviously the Colorado quarterback that was promoted this season has entered the transfer portal, and Deion Sanders.
How do you feel about them? Because I think that was inspiring, hilarious, and cringe at the same time. If that could be, because it was like, how are you just going to tell this team? Granted, they want. Do you want to know what their point differential was for the season?
You have it, so why don't you tell us? And I'm pretty sure it's bad.
It was pretty bad. They were one of the worst, Power 5 teams in the whole country.
Minus 379.
Whoa.
I mean, they get waxed. They get waxed from Oregon. Oregon State's nothing to chuckle at. Utah, USC, UCLA. Cal can do some things if you let them. I granted that Arizona State was also bad, and I didn't really hear much about Arizona. So, yeah, if you let the Pac-12 run it up on you, they're going to run it up on you. And I'm pretty sure they know a lot of that as a former Big 12 school. To granted, at the time they left the Big 12, it was offense happy, but I don't think it really evolved into what it became at that point.
But still, it was bad. Like, I can't believe he went up and so basically he told everybody to hit the transfer portal. All of it's like, yep. And he was like, I need people that are smart, tough, fast, disciplined with character. He made him chant that stuff right in front. Like, knowing that half these, I don't know how much you guys are on the recruiting trail.
I've heard a bunch of it, and especially when the OC was the head coach at Kent State.
Yeah.
And you work at the school where a prominent player, and I said it earlier, Cruz Brookins, decommitted from Kent State because of this, and is now probably looking to go to Pitt, or who knows.
He's in Penn State this weekend.
Yeah, true. Penn State could also look at him, and Penn State would really rack up everyone in the WPIAL if they get him. But also, there's an outside shot. I think it's too far west. But if Prime takes a look at his tape, I think he's got something there with him. He'd be a little bit of a project, but
so how long do you think it's going to take for him to turn around that Colorado program? Because a lot of things with college coaches, like, schematics, coaching, definitely help. The recruiting's the big thing. Like, if you get 4-star and 5-star recruits, like, all you need is like a confident coach or on offense and defense as coordinators. Like, you're going to have a pretty good team if you're getting good prospects.
They'll be They'll be in a bowl game next year, Chris.
You think that soon? You think?
No.
Transfer portal.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Transfer
the portal will do a lot.
Like,
I want to see. This. No. As someone that actually sits up late and watches Pac-12, because I'm a USC fan. It's not going to be like USC and how it is looked at. That's a difference. That's Los Angeles. This is Boulder, Colorado. If it was Denver, maybe.
Denver ain't that far.
Yeah, but it's not Denver.
So what? It's like, look.
It's not Denver, man.
This is what Deion.
It's not even UCLA, man. That's a different beast right there.
Right.
I'm telling Brandon, I understand that you're the college guy with that, but That's going to have to be something that, especially when I actively take a look at the Pac-12, that's a little bit different. Now, maybe when USC and UCLA departs, but I can't see it that way.
I didn't say
with USC.
You could be 5-7 and get into a bowl game now, Ty.
Yeah, that is true. You could get
or 6-6. I ain't saying. Yeah. Look, he's gonna bring. He already said he's bringing about 10 of them dogs from Jackson State.
So Travis Hunter is right there.
Yeah, that too. Him too.
His sons.
His son. I think he can only bring the quarterback. The other son, I think there's rules against because he already was in the transfer portal once.
There's no. Well, maybe there's.
You can only.
He might sit a year. That's about it.
But anyway, man, these guys. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you what he could pluck a couple guys from Alabama. Texas A&M is a dirt show. Get a couple out of there. Couple out of Georgia. Because not all of them 5-star players are going to be playing. That's where you get them. And they already got people getting that phone call. They got to commit today. Maybe a 3-star, but those 4 stars, he's going to get a few 4 stars to commit late. Guarantee it. I'm telling you, that talent roster is going to turn. Like, this is bad. So it was a lot of Colorado decommits that was like, well, I was like, yeah, I decided, talking to my family, you got to decommit. You know, Chris, you know what that was.
Yeah. He said, you know, I'm bringing my own guys or bringing my luggage or something.
I don't think it's either one thing. Prime said no, or I didn't know that Prime was coming.
Oh, they knew Prime was coming. Prime said no.
Did you guys hear how
these are high school commits? Like 2 weeks from National Signing Day.
Did you guys see how,
yeah, I'm gonna be committed. I'm gonna be playing for Deion. Deion's like, nope.
Did you guys see how the Colorado AD? I think they don't have enough money to pay for him right now or something like that.
They got the money. They just
Joel Klatt for Fox Sports is gonna single-handedly fund that thing. I mean,
make sure
they'll put in some money. Cordell's got to have a few dollars somewhere.
Oh, they got something. Don't worry about that.
I think with Prime, his own NIL contingent comes through because remember he's got Aflac with him. Barstool is right there.
Right.
Barstool's going to help him out, but there's a lot going with their. I'm going to temper my expectations, though I will say this. Deion Sanders did exceed all expectations at Jackson State. And for those who are upset about it, saying that he was supposed to be the savior because he kind of anointed himself as a savior in his opening press conference, I've learned that nothing's guaranteed in college sports. Nothing.
That's what I was going to bring up. I was kind of the counterpoint to all that. People kind of criticized him for leaving Jackson State, but actually I saw Brandon actually randomly downtown, and we talked. We were both walking the same street, and we started talking about the whole Sanders leaving there, and I said, what was his? He was getting paid $300,000, and half of that was
$300,000. Broke his had to donate half of his salary to make sure facilities are good. He had to. They dealt with no water this season on certain days. At the beginning of the year, they had water issues in the city of Jackson.
Yeah, it's a poor town like that. The whole area.
It's a poor town.
Yeah.
Shador almost had to got broken into. They broke into his apartment. They broke into his car. The stadium is a whatchamacallit. It's just like ran down, broken.
It
It's like
looks
no,
old.
they showed the announcers had to go into a makeshift hallway to announce their games.
Yeah. I will say this about that Jackson State Stadium. It looks big. It looks impressive whenever you see the video of Prime with the crowd, but it was less to be desired. And really, a lot of facilities in historically black colleges and universities don't exactly look the prettiest. So I did see one Twitter account that's showcasing like, hey, they have put money into this, but it's not to the level of what obviously in Alabama and LSU, the higher end institutions in Division I, really some FCS programs. I don't know if you've been in Duquesne's locker room, Chris, but you have covered the team.
No, I've never been in the locker room, but I never. I mean, basketball. Have you guys been to the new arena? It's pretty nice. Their basketball arena,
right?
It looks nice on TV. Hopefully, one day I get an opportunity to go down there. But
we got to go down there one of these days. Just watch a game. Just to go watch.
The game has pretty good, nice facility. I mean, it's not like the big, Power 5 schools, but they got all the money, all those big time schools, obviously. But
yeah, because they schedule like crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway,
where do you think the HBCU schools? Where do they go from here with Deion Sanders leaving and everything?
They still got Eddie George down in Tennessee State. So there's going to be someone that comes up and through, but I don't know if it's going to get the exposure because Deion's still coaching Jackson State for the Celebration Bowl.
Right. Well,
so that's going to be a big. That's going to be really interesting. It might be a mess. Who knows? But
it might be messy. But
and did he go straight?
You want to know about how I feel about this? Is that what we're getting? Black people need to shut the hell up. Seriously, Ty. I'm gonna tell you why. If you guys, this is the problem with black people, Chris. I'm gonna try to be nice about this. We don't support each other, do we, Ty?
No.
In general,
sometimes we very much fall short at that.
I bet you Deion Sanders may have stayed for maybe 2.5. They couldn't do that. They wouldn't raise the money to pay it. All these black people talking. All these little run their mouths saying, Deion should stay. Deion should be for the culture. I'm like, okay, put your money where your mouth is. Donate. Why don't we build? Why do we have to, us as black people have to be in the position to go to greener pastures instead of trying to, I'm trying to say, trying to harvest your grass.
Yeah,
they like to crap where they eat.
I think I'll put it to you like this, not to cut you off with that. I get it. I do feel that if Jackson State wanted him, and Jackson State, obviously they need him with it because of how much exposure, even on ESPNU, ESPN2, that's something. And sometimes they would, and for the Celebration Bowl, they're going to bump them up to ABC. So, and of course the Jackson Southern game, that game's always huge. There needed to be something to be found with him. And there's a lot of, I think Alabama State's coach had the he ain't SWAC thing. And the question is, I would go with that. Would you be it if you had $5 million? If you had $5 billion pressed right in front of you, would you be SWAC too? Would you be MEAC? Would you be anything? There's a lot of HBCUs out there. It's not just FCS, there's also NAIA, Division II, Division III. One person who we had on this show, Chris Carter, went to Cheney, so that's a Division III. If I recall
That'd be an interesting
correctly.
thing to talk about.
Ask
about that.
That would be a very good podcast as well.
We'll have him back on. But
Lavelle
Morton, that's a D1. That's FCS.
North Carolina Central.
Yeah, he would have a good comment and view on the whole Deion leaving. He'd probably say the same thing as you said, Brandon, about saying they didn't support him paying $300,000 to $5 million like that. That's a big jump, and
it's a big jump.
But how did Deion go to Jack? Like, did he have any coach? I didn't know. Like,
no,
he coached high school, but the thing was he didn't have a good degree because he left school early. Yeah. Florida State, so he had to go. I guess you have to have a degree to be on an FBS at a school at a Power 5 level. I don't know.
Let me also add this. He didn't want to be an assistant coach. Basically, he wanted to go somewhere where he could be a college head coach at a high level from the jump. He did have a stint as an offensive coordinator, but this is during the time that he was still on NFL Network. So, and of course, he also, there was a lot of time that went into that with NFL Network, the Deion Sanders things with the combine and all types of other stuff. So I got it. He also had Prime U, which failed, or Prime, or I can't remember.
It was Prime Academy or something.
Something like that. Prime Prep. I can't remember it off the top of my head. So he did have coaching experience, but a lot of things went through it. My question with that, the fact that he stuck around for 3 years, I wonder how much Barstool helped with that because they were following him around the entire time. The one thing with him, as again, I'd say, I know, Brandon, you think that he's going to be a bowl eligible person. I want to see what he gets out of the transfer portal. I want to see him finish up the early and late recruiting periods. At this time, I would say he'd be very close, but I think he just missed bowl eligibility, but that could change. That obviously can change. If he picks up another one of these,
he's going to bring some heat.
I believe very much that he could bring heat because he managed to get a kid to go from his alma mater to Jackson State, and obviously Travis Hunter is going to Colorado. There's no doubt.
Oh yeah, and plus they got Jackson State had a few people who got 4 stars like linemen, which you need to compete
in any.
Remember what
Lavelle
Morton said. It's all about the line, any level, college or pro.
Yeah. And
that's all about the O line and D line.
And that's the big drop off from Power 5 to FCS is the offensive line. You like Duquesne offensive lineman compared to someone at Penn State. Like, it's a big drop off. Like, I mean, the Duquesne linemen are still big, but they're not like 6'6", 320 or something like that.
Heck, even whenever you go from MAC schools to that.
Yeah. Because there's just not that many people that big and strong and athletic out there.
Even a low-level FBS offensive line is impressive in size.
Yeah.
So yeah, if he gets those linemen in there, Shedeur, I don't think there's gonna be a little bit of a learning curve with him because again, FCS to FBS is a different speed. It's a tick up in speed.
I'll tell you this. They do play TCU next year, so I might say 6-6 bowl game. I ain't say 9-3, 7-9-3, 10-2 or something. I'm like 6. I said 6-6.
There's gonna be some pains, no doubt, with it. There has to be in that situation. I want to see what he brings in there and how young is this team gonna be. That's another thing because
I don't think they're gonna be that young. They're gonna bring some experienced talent here.
There's got to be someone. He said put everyone in Colorado in the recruiting in the transfer portal. Basically. Now look, I know that Colorado, again, as we kicked it off with this 1-11, there's something there with some of those guys on that team that he's going to keep. He's got to keep something. I don't know what, but I'm genuinely curious to see what stays after this big talk, for lack of a better term. And also, I didn't get a chance to answer that about the talk with you, Brandon. I'll put it to you like this with it. It's prime. It's always been a big show.
Yeah.
It doesn't even feel cringe because it feels like that's something he would do. It would be something.
No, it's not cringe to me. It's cringe to the players.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. In general, I did expect if he got that big moment, it would be with some. He's in a great situation. He's in a Power 5. No real. The expectations are more on him, but I'm pretty sure Colorado's just happy to be relevant right now.
Yeah, they're definitely.
But I expected it to be something out of Walking Tall, You're All Fired situation, basically, in which he rebuilds it himself. So I kind of expected that, honestly.
And
it went a little bit harder than what I thought, I'll admit.
I was like, ooh. It was like he basically said these fans are tired of what these fans, student body, and your parents are tired of the mess that you have been putting them through for the last 2 decades.
Some of these guys weren't even alive.
Like they said your parents. I'm like, wow. That's tough.
So what do you guys think about the transfer portal?
Huh?
I said, what do you guys think about the transfer portal? Do you think it's good for college football, or do you think it's a bad thing?
I mean, your backbone is still going to be your high school recruiting.
So yeah, because the transfer portal is something went wrong, and things happen where there might be a player at a position that's better than the other guy, and he wants to find playing time.
Right.
So I get all that, but I mean, you see guys playing if you play for 3 teams in college, that's a lot for
Yeah, JT Daniels is going to play for the 4th team.
4? Oh, I didn't even know that. The 4.
Yeah, he's in the transfer portal.
Phil Jerkovich from Pine Richland is finally coming home, but I think if Kenny Pickett wasn't there, he would have been home already. So
yeah, it's like that, and then the quarterback is going to, for what I hear, not Allard. He ain't going freaking nowhere. He's God in Happy Valley right now. Their backup quarterback is actually rumored, allegedly, don't know yet, could be going to Pitt. I don't want to say anything, but I don't want to say, for what I've hear, the scuttlebutt around the street,
Well,
to back up him, and then he'll take over at Pitt.
Well, be sure to pimp out your podcast for Penn State with Joe Smeltzer. Yeah. If
they draft Joey Porter Jr., he'll be on here.
I mean, we could bring him on before the draft.
Come on whenever he wants. I mean, we always want to have fellow broadcasters out there from Waynesburg. I mean, we want everyone in here. We want Point Park. We want everyone.
The pro day. We had a Liberty guy on when
we'll have him on.
So we could
when there was a sniff of a possibility of Malik Willis was coming on.
Yeah, we brought
the Steelers. We'll bring on whoever. We don't care.
Well, you know what? You know what we could do? You know, would be a good guest too. Asti.
Yeah, that'll be good too to get some
Asti or I don't know how it is.
Yeah, looking back on that, I was a little.
That would be good. Having him. Who would be a good Pittsburgh? Who does Pitt for Pittsburgh Sports now? Who does a Pitt writer?
We've already had everyone. Really, the only guy that I could think of is Saunders. That's it.
Yeah,
we've had Faribault on twice.
Yeah.
You think he'll do it?
Who's their beat writer is Carl. His name is. You know who that is, right?
Yeah, I know who he is because he does some stuff from us from time to time.
Yeah, definitely. It should be interesting in the draft process and everything.
Like when it's draft time, we'll have him on. Well, I'll be doing a lot of the draft stuff too, but we'll have him on for his perspective. We'll have, I guess, Carl. I'll ask him to be on there, and we'll get Asti on.
Well, we'll find out. We'll find out a lot of things we will do here on the Renegade Blitz. We always have ideas, so hey, if you want to join on the podcast,
Brandon stays late up at night, just thinking about all the guests.
We still have guests we can't get on this show that we want on this show.
Yeah, we have so many ideas just floating around, everywhere.
I know.
So if you know a ton about football, we'll have you on. But anyway, that's all. We've been talking forever. You have been listening to the Renegade Blitz.
Thank you for listening to the Renegade Blitz podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at @RBlitzPod, and @BlitzVideos. Read articles on RenegadeBlitz.com. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. The Renegade Blitz podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you can listen to podcasts.